Are we ready to roll? Excellent. Right, good evening everybody. It's now 6 o'clock, so welcome to this meeting of Cheltenham Borough Council's Miscellaneous Licensing Subcommittee, which is being held today, which is the 8th of January 2025. My name is Councillor Dr. David Willingham and I'm the chair of the committee today. The meeting is being streamed live to Cheltenham Borough Council's YouTube channel, and the recording of the meeting will be held for 4 years. If there are any breaks in the transmission to the YouTube stream, the meeting will be adjourned for a short period until any technical issues are resolved. To the members of the public present, if you're here to make a representation to the meeting, then you are consenting to the use of the sound and video recordings for broadcast and training purposes. Please also be aware that CCTV and audio recording is now operational in the public gallery, and the recordings will be held by the council for 5 months. Fire alarm test is not expected, so if the fire alarm does sound, you should immediately make your way to the nearest exits, which is the door that you came in through with the green sign, and there's another exit there. Finally, if you've got a mobile phone or another device that makes any noise, could you please put it on silent? With that, I will now move on to the main agenda. So agenda item number 1 is apologies for absence. All members are here, so there are none. Declarations of interest. So I'll start by saying that myself and Councillor Dr. Pemberton attended a site visit this evening, accompanied by an officer, and also for the record that I'm a county councillor on Gloucestershire County Council. Neither of those are prejudicial. Are there any other declarations of interest? No. Right. So we now move on to the substantive item, which is agenda item 3, which is the renewal application for a street trading consent. Because this is a regulatory item, councillors must be present and have heard the proceedings in their entirety in order to vote on the item. And I'll just go through the process for the public present. So we will ensure that the applicant is present, and we will ensure that objectors are present. I will ask the licensing officer to introduce the report. Councillors will get an opportunity to ask the licensing officer questions, and then the objector and the applicant will get the opportunity to ask the officer any questions. We'll give the objector an opportunity to speak first, and we'd ask the objector to limit their speech to no more than 10 minutes, and then members may ask you questions, and then we will hear from the applicant. And again, we ask you to keep your speech to 10 minutes or less, and then we will ask you some questions. If there's anything that needs clarification, we may go around that process again. Members will debate the matter. The applicant will be given the final right of reply, and then we will move to the vote. And if we need to take legal advice, we may adjourn. But you'll see you should see all of this in open session, and then we will get the reasons, and you will get that formally after the decision has been made. So with that, if I can ask the licensing officer to introduce the report, please.
Thank you, Chair. All members and interested parties have had a copy of the report, so I won't go through it in full. But we are here today because we've received a renewal application for Mr. William Dante for street trading consent to sell hot and cold food and drink from a traditional English borough. Mr. Dante has applied to renew his existing consent to trade outside, next and House of Tweed on the High Street. Appendix 1 and Appendix 2 show the unit and the site plan. Cheltenham Borough Council street trading policy states that where a renewal application has been made and there have been no significant complaints or enforcement issues, all fees have been paid on time, and where there has been no significant change to the retail environment in the vicinity, that consent will normally be renewed. A complaint was received from the letting agent from the adjacent premises in November. The complaint stated that when attempting to market the unit to prospective tenants, and the feedback from those prospective tenants was that they would not take the unit on due to the presence of the donut stall outside. The complainant also highlighted the lack of any tenants would mean that council would not be receiving full business rates for the property. And the complainant has also raised concerns about public safety. However, it should be noted that the licensing team have not had any other complaints or reports of incidents from members of the public or relevant authorities such as Gloucestershire Highways or the police. Licensing have met with the letting agent to mediate concerns. However, his concerns do remain. One of the ward councillors has also requested that a suitable compromise was sought for the benefit of Cheltenham Borough Council's business rates income. The full comment is at 4.1.1 in the report. Mr. Danta has also provided an email statement which can be read at Appendix 4. The committee can opt to approve the application because members are satisfied the location is suitable. And they can approve the application with a variation to rotate the donut store by 90 degrees to increase visibility of the adjacent premises. They can opt to relocate the trader to another site, subject to consultation, and permit trading to continue until a new site has been granted. Or they can refuse the application because it does not comply with the provision of the street trading policy. Within the street trading policy, the authority does recognise the importance of licensed businesses to the local economy and the character of the area, whilst trying to ensure activities do not cause public or statutory nuisance to people in the area. We do have assessment criteria, which is detailed. Just a brief summary, the assessment criteria covers the needs of the area, public nuisance, public safety, appearance of the stored vehicle, and environmental credentials. In terms of consultation comments, only one comment was received by Councillor Barbara Clark, included in the report. And members are reminded that through their decision making, they should give clear and thorough reasons made by the committee, particularly where the decision is contrary to the adopted policy. That's your report. Any questions?
Thank you. Are there any questions from councillors? So I will just go through a couple. Can we confirm that business rates are not a material consideration in terms of the licensing policy?
Yeah, there's absolutely no reference at all to business rates as a consideration within the licensing policy.
Thanks. Any further questions? Okay. So firstly, Mr. Watson, do you have any questions based on what you've heard?
No questions.
Okay. And Mr. Danta, do you have any questions for the officer based on what you've heard? Sorry, bear with me. We'll make sure you can be heard because okay. So what we now move on to is to hear from Mr. Watson. Just check. I'll just check that works first. Yep, perfect.
Yes, speaker's now working. Thank you.
Brilliant. So yeah, if we could ask you to present your case, and then members may well have some questions for you. For those watching on the YouTube stream, we're just having some trouble with the microphone, so we need to make sure that everybody can be heard. Bear with us.
Thank you very much for that. I think most of what I wanted to say has been set out in the emails that were attached to the appendix, and the licensing officer has covered most of it in his report. I appreciate that perhaps some of the content of what I'm bringing to this is a commerciality, either the commerciality of trying to get the property let to a rent and business rates paying tenant, which is the interest of the owner of the property. And I appreciate those are not necessarily material considerations for a licensing committee. But alongside that, I did also have concerns as to the way that it perhaps blocks part of the pedestrianised part of this high street. When I first raised the question of the licensing department, it was that it seemed to me that the better place for a barrow such as this was in the area where it's fully pedestrianised across the whole width of the high street, and therefore less likely for pedestrians to walk into traffic and cycle traffic as well. I note also that the bike back lane is going in the opposite direction to the vehicle traffic. But I appreciate that there's been no accidents or complaints from highways. But I just seeking perhaps a suitable middle ground that we can ensure safety of the public and doesn't detriment perhaps the building currently occupied by House of Tweed, but continues to operate as the borough as it is in perhaps either a better place further up the high street or perhaps one of the other options where it's slightly relocated and rotated.
Thank you. So there's now some questions. So Councillor Boyes.
Thank you. My question is, when did the owner purchase the premises?
October last year, September, October, I can't remember.
Any further questions? My question would be, do you know if the owner inspected the premises, visited the premises prior to purchase?
Yes, they did, yeah.
Are there, Councillor Wheeler?
Yes, moving on from there, and I do notice in the notes there was a concern about letting the property with the barrow there, but you say that the people that have bought it or let it did come to visit it, so to use the term sold as seen seems a little bit. So other people, and I think there was notes about this, comments about this in the notes, that there had been difficulty letting it and comments were made about the stall. So can I ask you as to what reasons were given, other than just the fact that it was there?
Prior to purchase, the due diligence that we did included reviewing the street trading policy, and it states that the Barrow is a seasonal stall selling confectionery in school holidays, and at the time that it was inspected it was a school holiday and therefore anticipated that it wasn't there all year round. I appreciate the licence had been subsequently changed to an annually renewed licence for trade throughout the year. So the information that was on the public available council website didn't actually reflect what was happening on the ground. Moving to the feedback from prospective tenants, it's the positioning of the stall, which is right in front of the frontage. Obviously, as a retailer, they want visibility of their sign and their shop front. So for pedestrians passing, obviously, as you come immediately past and between the stall and the shop, you would see it close up. But if you're on the other side of the road, from some angles, obviously, yes, still visible, but it is quite prominently. The stall is quite prominently in front of the main frontage of the shop. We've had two different prospective tenants who have perhaps seen the details online. The photos are taken from an angle where you don't see the donut stall. But when the prospective tenant has come for a viewing, the feedback has been that the stall is quite close to the front of the shop and quite obstructing the visibility of the shop and its shop front. And some of the reasons that were given by these two in particular were the stall is being part of it, but I do take it that you can't always. There may be other reasons as well. They just give you one reason, so it's not always that is the only reason why they didn't take it. Everything's a matter of degrees.
Thank you. Are there any further questions from members? Okay, so we now move on to hearing from Mr. Danter. Again, your opportunity, you've heard what's been said, it's your opportunity to respond. And then again, members may well have some questions for you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, committee members, all present in person and online. Thank you for taking the time this evening to hear our licence renewal application. Licensing informed me of the complaint about our store licence renewal in late November and asked if I could come in for a meeting. I said of course, but it would have to be brief as we were really busy with the coffee house build at the ice rink. We are very proud that Cheltenham Council has chosen us for the last 2 years to deliver the coffee house and food concession at the ice rink. Our proposal this year was to build the coffee house into the side of the marquee to improve the visitor experience. This entailed a lot more work and further investment, but we have had nothing but praise on our delivery. At the meeting, I was informed that the new property management company and letting agent had objected to our licence renewal, and the application would need to be reviewed by this committee. What with our commitment to delivering the coffee house at the ice rink, serves in multiple council events this year, in addition to manage the stall and our children's roundabout in the High Street, I hope you understand that I have very little time to prep this meeting, so apologies in advance. A little of our trading history. We have traded in the High Street with the donut stall since 2005, initially just during the Christmas period, and positioned near the Beechwood Arcade, where the flower bed is now situated just past the gold post box. When the council changed their street trading policy in 2014, we were then granted a licence to trade all school holidays and the Christmas period. We used to get an objection from the cafe owner, at the entrance to the arcade. So working with the then town centre manager, Martin Quantock, and other council departments, we decided to take the risk and apply for a change of position between Next and the Carphone warehouse. Everyone was in agreement that this did not block sight lines to the shops and had a generous pedestrian walkway. The only concern was about the stall causing a blind spot if people went across the road when close to the stall. To prevent this, it was decided that having a barrier fence at the back of the stall, extending 7 feet past either side, would stop the public walking out onto the road with a view obscured. We have been successfully trading on this position for 10 years now, without incident or objection. In 2019, we decided to try and lead a more sustainable work and lifestyle, turning our focus to our roundabout stall to trade all year round. The sale of our travelling business enabled us to invest in a new store and improve our high street business for the benefit of all. Again, I work with interested parties like Cheltenham Bid to make sure that the new store was seen to enhance the town and our service. Our policy has always been to support local business where we can. Since our change in focus, our support of local business has only increased many times over, and we've been voluntary Cheltenham Bid and Visit Cheltenham members for a number of years now, as we really appreciate all they do for the town. I met the letting agent one morning, not long after the building had been sold. I told him how pleased we were to see the old Carphone warehouse shop was now looking to be let after so many years being left vacant. We chatted for a while. I was impressed how knowledgeable he was, and he told me he had handled Woody's Fruit and Veg Street trading application on the Lower High Street. I wished them good luck with a let and joked it would be appreciated if you could let it to retail, not another coffee shop. We had already had 3 new coffee shops open in the High Street last year. He laughed and said, sorry, coffee number 1 was one of mine. Last Friday, I was made aware of a Gloucestershire Live news article on Facebook. I do not know if any of the committee have seen this, but we are very pleased to see so much public support for us, with over 50 positive comments and 170 likes. We also had many people come up and wish us good luck in our licence renewal, saying they were supporting us. We have always worked with the council to try and make sure we are enhancing the town centre visitor experience without unduly affecting other businesses by blocking sight lines, etc. Our focus has always been to bring something unique to the town that would add to the visitor experience and high street vibe. Our little coffee and donut stall is famous for its freshly made to order donuts, great coffee and sweet and savoury crepes, with children and adults alike delighting watching their donuts or crepes being made right in front of their eyes. Yes, you can buy donuts at many locations, but none of them offer this level of service due to the amount of work involved. We feel the coffee and donut stall is positioned well and not unduly affecting any other business. Of course, we would look at another position if this committee thought this was necessary. But if we are moved, this will only put us near to another coffee shop who will not be happy with our presence and so may well object. The way for us is that this could lead to loss of our business after so much work and investment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for Mr. Danter? Oh, that's a race. I'll go for Councillor Sankey first and then Councillor Wheeler.
Thank you. Mr. Danter, I'm just wondering, I know there hasn't been ever complaints made, but I just wondered if you ever had any comments from either Next or Carphone Warehouse when they were there.
Oh, can you use the microphone, please?
Apologies. Yeah, sorry. We've traded on this position for 10 years, and Next has never objected. They had a big refurb back, I think, 2015, about 2016, had a big refurb. That area was all closed. We actually had to move while Next was being all rebuilt. And then we positioned back. But even with all that investment, they've never objected to us. None of the shops have ever objected. And with the big John Lewis investment, they've never objected to us. When we worked and developed the new store, I would like to point out that I have asked licensing. Philip Bowen was the officer who dealt with the application for many years, to say, we actually technically have changed the style of the store to a contemporary street food store, which we work with a number of departments to make sure people thought that looked nicer. And when we designed that, when you stand back, as you walk up through the high street, the roof is done so you can see all the signage there. So when you see, like I said, a lot of say the Christmas style, the big A-frame hut, no roofs. This was done so the roof sloped backwards, so it minimised no obscuring the view to the shop signage. But no, we've never had any objections from the shops in front of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Councillor Wheeler?
Yes, rather a difficult question, I think, maybe. And if you can't answer, then you can't answer. Just trying to get some sort of idea of footfall. Can you give me any sort of rough ballpark figures of the number of people that come to your stall? And if possible, do you know any sort of numbers of people that specifically come out of their way to go to your stall? Rather a difficult question. If you can't answer it, you can't answer it.
I'm afraid I can't give figures. We've been flat out working all winter long, and I know I could look at my settled sales reports, but sort of me, my son and wife man the stall and the small children's roundabout in Cheltenham High Street. These two little businesses work very well together, so we can work as a family unit. Me and my son setting the roundabout up on Saturdays while she gets the donut stall open. But we have many visitors, regular visitors daily and seasonally and school holidays. So many people, we have good, great Google reviews, and many people, when they come into town, it's always a treat for them to go and get a donut or savoury crepe from the coffee and donut stall. Our coffee sales are more at peak times because we have so many coffee shops. When in the Christmas time, when everything's very busy, then our coffee sales and hot chocolate sales go up. But if you look at our reviews or in the on the Facebook, on the Gloucester Live news article, there is over 50 comments in support of us. People who bring the children in to the town and always come and visit us. So yes, with more and more new coffee shops and eateries opening, and that's having effect on every single cafe and restaurant alike. So last year, we have found a harder year, especially with us. We're affected by rain, where if you have a coffee shop, people can get at the weather. We are still a fair weather business, but we have a lot of public support, and the donuts are popular, and as well as the crepes. We're building our savoury crepes. They take 5 minutes to cook a nice savoury crepe, and people will come up and wait. We have a little queue lane, so because the donuts are freshly made to order, and the children delight in having a single donut made and dressed just for them, that we might have a queue, but sort of we have the queue to go down the high street, so it doesn't block the actual walkway. Sorry.
Thanks. Any further questions? So I've just got one for you. And this is a hypothetical, because obviously we need to work out what we're doing, but are you amenable to rotating the site through 90 degrees? And or does that cause you any difficulties? And it's just going through the hypotheticals of, if that was the committee's decision, how would that affect you, and is that and the viability?
Jake has brought this up, and then no, we've also looked at it. But as I said in my opening statement, we worked with multiple different departments with the stall to fit in this location. The stall is rectangular. I don't see. Of course, we don't want to block, and we don't want to block unduly block any business. We could move the stall down a little. I say no. If you then put actually a little bit more centralised to the stall. Jake said in our meeting, what about moving it down towards Nexmoor? So well, as you walk out Beechwood Arcade, you'll actually block. Then you would block the Carphone Warehouse shop more. By rotating it, because the unit is rectangle, you'd actually block the pedestrian area more because it's wider than it is deep. So I can't see how that would cure the problem. I think it'd actually make the problem worse, not better. Thank you.
Thank you. No, it was just to hear your view on that. Are there any further questions? Okay, so at this point, we move to the member debate. So I just need to read this to you. So before I open this to debate, I will remind you it is important for you to give due regard to the council's licensing policy. And if you deviate from that policy, you give clear reasons for doing so. It's important that you only take into account material licensing considerations and that your decisions are reasonable, proportionate and rational. Councillor Boyce.
Thank you, Chair. And I'd like to thank you, Mr. Danta, and I'd like to also thank you both for coming in tonight. And actually, it's really great to hear from you both. And it's really interesting to hear about the background of your business and the history and your explanation of how things work. And that's really, really helpful. So thank you for that. With regards to the licensing policy, business rates isn't a licensing consideration. So I don't really think we need to be taking that into account. Obviously, the stall has been there since 2014. There have been no complaints. There's been no significant complaints or enforcement issues. All fees have been paid on time. There's been no significant change to the retail environment in the vicinity or of the trading location. There's been no complaints about public safety. The complainant refers to public safety, a complaint around public safety, but we haven't had anything about public safety. There's been no complaints about public nuisances reported. And the goods sold in the stall complement the local businesses, don't conflict with other goods sold in the area. And it does enhance the high street. There's been no issue with the appearance of the stall. I don't think it's appropriate for this committee to suggest that the stand moves because there's been no complaints to date at all. And I also don't think that we should be suggesting rotating it because that doesn't seem sensible to me. I just think that would create a blockage on the street, and it doesn't make sense to rotate it. I think that it's obviously a much loved stall in Cheltenham, and my thoughts are that we should approve the licence as it stands tonight.
Thank you. I'll take my opportunity to come in now. So can I ask for something just to be put up on screen so we've got it as a record? If I just explain, this is the County Council road safety information, which is what's used for assessing highways danger. And the yellow triangles are collisions that have resulted in a slight injury, and the red squares are collisions that have resulted in a serious injury. And the application site is pretty much in the centre of the screen and not near any of those. So in terms of the evidence for highways, I think that can be discounted. So hopefully we can take that off the screen. Having attended the site visit, I agree rotating it doesn't make sense. There's the locations of the door and the defib and everything else. But we have to ask the question about, so the question was a hypothetical about whether it worked, and I don't think it does. Now, there's no evidence of highway danger. The 5-year collision data shows nothing at the location. So I can't really uphold that it's a public safety risk. And the police and county council highways are the definitive authorities on that. House of Tweed, okay, they're closing down. They were a short-term lease, but the premises has been able to be leased, which to my mind suggests that finding the right it's finding the right business rather than the presence of the street trader that's the problem. As someone who's the champion of the nighttime economy in Cheltenham, I've regularly cited the agent of change principle to the council in respect of proposed developments, and I'm not going to be a hypocrite and change that position. And that is about protecting existing uses. I don't really have a lot of sympathy for a business that buys a premises and then where the stall has been visible on Google Street View since 2020. I don't think it's been concealed from anyone. And the principle that applies is that of caveat emptor, let the buyer beware. There's nothing here that's concealed. And it sort of feels to me like buying a house on the flight path into Heathrow and then complaining about aircraft noise. The street trading stall clearly meets all the policy criteria for the site. It's been there without trouble for years. And I don't think that the purchase of an adjacent retail store by a new owner is a sufficiently material change to the locality. So there's no material grounds, in my opinion, for refusal. And the site visit has said to me, rotating it is not an improvement. It will cause a worse obstruction. So I'm certainly minded to approve the application as is. Councillor Wheeler.
That's it. Yes, I think I'm really going to agree with both of you here. Actually turning it, I would have concerns about that, in that it's taking up more room. And if you're going to have queuing, my guess would be either they'll be in the middle of the paved area or they'll be queuing along the roadside. So I would see that I couldn't refuse it on those grounds. I think it would be a hazard, and I wouldn't be comfortable with that. As opposed to the visibility, the signage over the shop front signage, I think the applicant actually made the point. He's designed the roof specifically so that shop front signage is clearly visible from probably anywhere except if you're stood right behind the stall in the middle of the road. So if we were minded to refuse on those grounds, quite frankly, I think we'd have to refuse all street trading units, apart from maybe a very small few. The reason for my question about footfall, which I accept, Mr. Danter, is probably very difficult to give me numbers unless he's had someone out there with a clicker. But I was trying to see the sort of footfall that was going along there. But it strikes me that from his comments, it's very popular, which means he's bringing a lot of people into that part of the area, which I think is probably a trading plus for the area. So I'm seeing very, very little, other than maybe sort of feelings, to actually vote against this. I think it is actually a benefit to the high street rather than any form of hazard. So I would be inclined to want to give them this licence.
Councillor Dr. Pemberton.
Yeah, just to echo what other people have said, really, having been on a site visit, I think you'd have to stand in a very specific position for it to block your viewpoint. The pavement is plenty wide enough. I've walked down there hundreds of times because I live that end of town. And I can't really see an objection. I went in House of Tweed the other day. It wasn't hidden in any way, shape or form. So I don't think I can think of any reason for objecting. Having been on a site visit, turning it through 90 degrees, the suggested orientation, as David said, meant that the door to access the cabin would be between the fence and the road, or the fence would be between the road and the door, so you can't get in and out. The door would require adaptation of the building. And if you put it the other way around, then the defibrillator needs relocating because that's in the roadway. So I also can't really see a reason for objecting.
Julie?
Thank you. Well, no, probably it's more of the same, really. And I think, the fact that Next is there, they've never complained, and that is a very busy store. So I think, I've got no reason to object either.
Okay, so Mr. Dante, you get a final right of reply if there's anything you wish to say. It's not essential. If you're happy with what you've heard, then it's we have to give you your right of reply by law. So I now need to just check with my licensing officer that you're happy with. You've got reasons for the decision notice, and you're happy. Legal, excellent. Right. So, find the right bit of my papers. So we now move to the vote, and the proposal is that we vote on 1.6.1, which is that the committee can approve the application because members are satisfied that the location is suitable. So electronic voting, by the looks of it, and it will all appear on the screen, and hopefully everyone can then see at home as well. So that is unanimous that the application has been approved, and the decision notice will be made available to you in due course. So that concludes that item. Agenda item 4 is briefing notes. There are none. And agenda item 5 is any other items that the chair determines are urgent and which require a decision. And you'll be glad to hear there are none of those as well. So at 6:35, 6:40, I declare the meeting closed. Thank you very much.